Hi everyone, welcome to this Google Digital Garage training session on getting your business ready for the shopping season. Before we get started, I would like to take a couple of minutes to introduce myself and go through today's agenda. My name is Ilona, and I'm absolutely delighted to be here. The Google Digital Garage is actually one of my favorite projects here at Google because when I was a student, I was actually an ambassador of the Digital Garage on my university campus. So now I'm very excited to have this first circle and have this experience as one of the speakers as part of this program. And besides that, I also work at Google currently as an account manager, and I'm taking care of the largest advertisers in the Central Europe. And my specialty is e-commerce. And before that, I also worked in the digital marketing agency, and I also worked with the digital marketing campaigns. I would also like to introduce our moderator, Emma Gray. Emma is also a Google Digital Garage coach and will be interacting with you and answering some of your questions via the instant chat to the right there. And you can identify her by her name and also by a little blue spanner next to her name. Before we get started, I would also like to point out a couple of housekeeping points. So firstly, if you have any troubles viewing this webinar, please do try refreshing your page right now. Also, if you would like to join the instant chat today, you do need a YouTube account for that, and you can easily set it up by clicking on the box on the right there. We'll be pausing throughout the session to answer some of your more complex questions from the chat box. So feel free to fire away any questions you might have via the chat. And just to let you know, we are running this Google Digital Garage virtual training as part of the broader offering of courses. So if you would like to check out our schedule of the upcoming webinars, please feel free to do so. And you can find the link in the description box down below this video. And you can click on it and find the schedule of the upcoming webinars. And if you would like to share your experience from this webinar on your social media with your friends and family, feel free to do so. And please don't forget to use the hashtag Digital Garage. And lastly, if you have any feedback from today's session, please complete the feedback form linked down below in the description box. And after you complete the feedback form, you will receive a PDF from today's session. And also, we'll keep the webinar live for you for the next 24 hours so you can rewatch it. So that's the housekeeping done. And now let's take a quick moment to get used to the chat functionality, and which we'll be using throughout the session. So in order for us to get used to it, I'd like you to share in the chat about what you currently do to market your business to your customers. And this can be both online and also physical forms of marketing. So please comment in the chat box to start a discussion, and Emma can reply to some of your answers. And now let's take a look at the objectives of today's session. So as you can see here on the slide, we have three main objectives. So firstly, in this session, we will provide you with an overview of market trends to help you identify your audience and the best ways of reaching and interacting with them. Secondly, we'll also explore how you can utilize online search tools to engage with the potential customers, market your business, and drive both online traffic and in-person footfall to your businesses. And on top of that, we'll discuss ways in which you can optimize your online marketing campaigns to maximize their impact and provide significant return on investments. So without further ado, let's begin today's session. And let's start with the point number one, which is understanding the market trends. Now, before we present our findings, in terms of recent market trends, feel free to share your experience and insights from how COVID-19 has impacted your business, and comment in the chat box for Emma, who will respond. So thank you in advance for all of your insights. And now let's take a look at our findings. So as you can see from the graph on the screen, before COVID-19 hit, Irish retail sales were on the rise after a brief dip in 2017. And before COVID, the idea that the Irish retail sector would be shut down and go into hibernation seemed absurd. So indeed, only 3 months before the shutdown, the Irish grocery sector has set a new post-2007 record in sales. Before the pandemic, Ireland's economy was the fastest growing in Europe for most of the last 5 years, and the Irish retail sector generated sales in excess of 30 billion euros per year and accounted for 12% of Ireland's GDP. But what happened when COVID hit? During the pandemic, businesses across Ireland were forced to shut, leading to difficult conversations between suppliers and business owners, drop in revenue, as well as large scale job losses across the country. The shutting down of a large proportion of economic activity has led to a sharp increase in the national unemployment rate, up to 5.4% in March, according to the CSO, the Central Statistics Office. Some of the most exposed sectors, including retail, hospitality, and construction, were expected to report up to 500,000 job losses before the end of April. And restaurants and takeaways and bars were hit particularly hard. However, there was some light at the end of the tunnel for retailers due to increased online shopping. And the digital marketing agency, Wolfgang Digital, reported that online transactions rose 44% in March compared with February. Moreover, between March and April the 5th, internet-based sales in Ireland increased 19%. The overall rise of e-commerce in Ireland has come fast, with businesses going online and driving sales and revenue via their e-commerce sites. This has happened so much so that 68% of organizations have claimed that improving their customers' online experience is a top priority. But what will happen after COVID? So whilst question marks still linger around the future of retail post-COVID, there have been some positive signs already since shops, bars, and restaurants reopened. Irish retail rose 3.6% year-on-year in June, as demand in many categories increased. The reopening of all retail in early June and restaurants at the end of the month led to a record 38% month-on-month jump in sales volumes. Annual car sales stabilized, with furniture sales up 25% during the lockdown, hardware up 30%, and electrical goods up to 14%, as the data from the CSO showed. These statistics show promising signs for the economy, but we should exercise some caution regarding that. So according to Goodbody Stockbrokers chief economist Dermot O'Leary, for the amount of savings people have accrued, the amount spent hasn't been too high since lockdown was lifted. People are still cautious about returning to the shops and spending money they have saved. In addition, the retail behind many others in terms of recovery, with the value of retail sales down 13% on pre-crisis levels. As we mentioned earlier, one area of the economy which has shown signs of increased sales is e-commerce. Revenue in the e-commerce market is projected to reach 3 million euros by 2020. And the Irish online shopping market is worth 7 billion euro, and the growth is driven by a number of factors. So for example, there's a fact that 38% of 25 to 34-year-olds shop online at least once per week. There's also another fact that Irish citizens spend significantly more money online each year compared to other European countries, and they spend 26.6% more than the European average. In terms of brand loyalty, 86% of Irish citizens do their shopping on the same website. And there's also huge loyalty to Irish sites, with 60% of customers stating that it's important or very important to shop with Irish businesses. And there's also been a rise in online shoppers. So the number of people shopping online in the last 10 years has risen from 19 to 50%. So meaning over half of the country right now shops online. Now let's dig a little bit deeper into these findings. So as you can see on the slide over here, 42% of e-commerce purchases were made through a mobile phone, with 29% making payments monthly from their phones. And this is expected to rise by 50% in 2023. You can see that also card payments are very popular, with 60% of purchases being made using a credit or debit card. And when we compare it to other terms of payments, we have 21% using digital wallets, 9% bank transfers, 3% cash. sorry, 7% cash, and then we have 3% the remaining forms of payments. And lastly, we can see that also speed is the key. So 77% of customers are happy to pay for the same day or next day delivery. So it's very important to also satisfy the growing customers' needs for the speed. Now let's take a look at the graph on the screen, and I want you to think about the shopping search term this graph may represent. So feel free to use the chat box again. I'll wait for 3 seconds. And as we can see here, it is Black Friday. So Black Friday together with the Cyber Monday have been one of the most important shopping periods throughout the year. And now let's take a look at more findings regarding this period. So while online shopping is booming, the more products sold online and the more e-commerce platforms available, the more choices the consumers have. So this can be both positive and negative for the consumer. So nowadays, consumers are navigating a paralysis of choice. Faced with too much choice and too little time, consumers are looking for shortcuts to make their decision-making faster, simpler when shopping online. So consumers are both feeling the pinch and are overwhelmed by the choice of products to buy or retailers to buy them from. And they are searching for deals to guide them towards the best purchase decisions. And as we can see here on the current graph, the number of searches for deals and best made up 65% of overall searches with over 10% year-on-year growth. And please note, deals and best searches are made up from the search terms such as deals, offers, discounts, sale, and best. And 80% of the volume of this group is made of the searches for deals. Now let's take a look at the changing role of the brand and performance concept. So marketing has always been about guiding a consumer and hoping they will purchase your product or service at some point. The best tools we had were brand building marketing, which used creativity and mass media to build subtle influences, which had lasting impacts, and direct response media, such as TV, radio, newspapers, and so on, that drove an immediate action. So with so much choice and information available to consumers thanks to the internet, new behaviors have developed as people explore and evaluate purchasing decisions. Even if we balance the brand and performance marketing in our plans, what if we're actually missing something? And the point is that the internet, smartphone, and access to more and new forms of media and information has led to the growth of important influences that don't necessarily fit into the performance and branding buckets. And this has some big implications for marketeers, from companies both large and small. So if you don't truly understand why consumers make the purchase decisions the way they do, you may not achieve the full return on your brand investments or marketing investments that could find yourself vulnerable to the competitors. And with that, I would like to introduce you to the concept of the messy middle. So our research has found that while a brand is still an important aspect when making a purchasing decision, it is not the defining factor. And Google studied the elongated phase of initially deciding to make a purchase and completing that purchase. And what we found were influences, aside from your branding, which played a significant role in person's purchasing decision. And the journey wasn't as straightforward as expected and was instead filled with behavioral changes and decisions from start to end across various touch points. So much so that researchers compared it to spaghetti. By the way, it's my favorite. So twisting and twirling into a squiggle shape. And I'll show you later what I mean by that. And there are a multitude of influences set within the messy middle, including scarcity of products, the power of now, social bias, and so on. And we will dive deeper into these biases a little bit more. And overall, these influences can be summarized by two key behaviors. And now let's take a look at these. So you'll be able to see the behavior model on screen now. And as you can see, the customer considers two overall behaviors between the time they've decided to make a purchase and have completed this transaction. And these two mental modes are evaluation and exploration. So first up, we have the exploration phase. And this goes on all the time, and it isn't a very linear journey. And there is a great deal of going back and forth. And once triggered to make a purchase, the exploration phase is where shoppers are demonstrating expansive search behavior. So they want to see what's out there and what is possible to purchase. So, for example, recently I was searching for a handbag I was planning to buy. So, during the exploration phase, I was searching for the best handbags, I was reading reviews, I was watching unboxing videos, just to have a brief idea like what is out there on the market and what retailers are offering the particular handbags I'm interested in. On the other hand, we have evaluation phase. So the point of the evaluation phase is to narrow down your options. So here consumers place constraints on their shopping behavior. So for example, I was searching handbags in Dublin or handbags at a certain price point or handbags from a certain brand. And the goal here was to narrow down my options, so I can make the final decision. And people loop through these twin models of exploration and evaluation, repeating the circle as many times as they need to make a purchase decision. And it's also worth saying that this isn't like sometimes it isn't successful, and many shoppers do abandon their potential purchases after going through this loop. And likewise, as mentioned earlier, it's not linear, so many shoppers go back and forth through this as they discover new information. So, for example, when I was looking at my handbags, I found out that the model I particularly liked was discontinued, so they're not producing it anymore. So now I have to start with the exploration phase again. But what evidence is there to show this in action? Now, let's take a look at this case study on the screen now to better understand the exploration and evaluation phases of the messy middle. And this case study shows the messy middle process during the Black Friday. And because everyone is pretty much doing the same thing during the Black Friday period, the messy middle, as you can see here on the graph, becomes a lot less messy. So it's extremely clear that we see what's happening. And normally there is so much back and forth between these two areas that it's very hard to see this in aggregate. So let's take a look at the Black Friday example, which is a little bit more simplified. And we can see these two phases over here. So we have point number 1 and number 2, which is for the exploration phase. And then we can see point number 3 and number 4, which is for the evaluation and purchase. So in the point number 1, at the beginning of the exploration phase, people started early by asking practical questions like, when is Black Friday or what is Black Friday? And then in the point number 2, they then began to identify the specific deals they wanted to buy during the following week. So for example, I will be definitely searching for the potential Black Friday deals for the handbags, right? Then during the evaluation phase, in the point number 3, the irrelevant deals from the last year or deals from other countries were filtered out. So for example, I will be searching for handbags in Ireland or Black Friday deals 2020. So it's more, first of all, location constrained, and also it's more time constrained. So I have the current deals. And then on Black Friday itself, the consumers were searching for the deals as expected. The challenge for retailers is that Black Friday is just one sales opportunity and season amongst many. And it's therefore challenging to unpick this behavior across multiple products amongst millions of consumers going through millions of purchase decisions. And without the use of technology to firstly find those customers in these moments and the right creative assets to make the most of the opportunity, businesses may struggle to make the most of this sales season. But what other influences affect the purchasing decisions in the messy middle? And here are these behavioral bias or cognitive biases I've mentioned earlier. And while there are hundreds of biases out there, we prioritized 6 in our research. And these are category heuristics. So short descriptions of key product specifics can simplify purchasing decisions. So in my case, when I'm searching for the handbag, it's very important for me to see the measurements of the bag. So it's neither too big and also it's neither too tiny, so I cannot fit anything in it. Then there's spiral off now. So the longer you have to wait for the product, the weaker the proposition becomes. So let's say if I find out that I will have to wait 6 weeks for the delivery, it's not going to be that interesting for me to buy that particular handbag. compared to the 2 days delivery, for example. Then there's the social proof. So recommendations and reviews from others can be very persuasive. So for example, I would prioritize a 5-star rated bag compared to a 3-star rated bag. Then we have scarcity bias. So as stock or availability of a product decreases, the more desirable it becomes. So when I see on the website that there are last 2 items left in stock or like it's low on stock, then it creates some sort of sense of urgency that maybe I should act quickly. Then we have the authority bias, so being swayed by an expert of or a trusted source. The expert or the trusted source can be even an influencer. So for example, if one of my favorite influencers were talking about a particular bag, then I would probably start considering that particular bag as well. And then there's the power of free. So a free gift with a purchase can be a powerful motivator. So let's say that if the retailer would include maybe some small pouch together with the bag as a free gift, it might be a nice touch. And then what does this all mean in practice? So here is the concept of the messy middle, and here is the spaghetti I was referring to before. Google conducted research with 31,000 shoppers who conducted 10 simulations each. And this equates to 310,000 scenarios. They tested shoppers' purchasing decisions when faced with different scenarios, including fictional brands, reviews, and adverts alongside the real ones. And I'll just present you some of the findings. So, for example, 30% of retail shoppers will, on average, switch to a second choice brand, just based on mere exposure in the messy middle. And in nearly every case tested, social proof, so for example, as I've mentioned, the 5-star review versus a 3-star review, proved to be the most powerful behavioral bias, having either the largest or the second largest effect in 28 of the 31 cases tested. And when the second choice brand was supercharged with all of these 6 biases and all of these benefits, the second choice brand was able to take a full 90% of preference away from the first choice brand. And it's important to mention that even a brand you've never heard of can disrupt preferences in the messy middle. And however, despite our best efforts to swing things in favor of the fictional brands in every category, many shoppers actually remained loyal to their favorite brand. So even when the alternative offered a vastly superior proposition, it's demonstrating how brands still carry power and influence. So let's say I had a favorite brand of the handbag, then I would be more inclined to buy from my favorite brand compared to the others. So this study shows how purchasing decisions are made in the messy middle. Now, there's a question, how can you succeed in the messy middle? So we've discovered how much impact in the messy middle has upon purchasing decisions, and what can we do to ensure we succeed and secure business, right? So there are 4 ways how you can do that. First of all, ensure your brand presence. So your product or service is on top of mind while customers are searching and exploring their options online. And think strategically to ensure you appear first. Also, employ behavioral science principles intelligently and responsibly to make sure that your proposition is compelling in order to influence customers' decision and their decision making to evaluate their options. And consider these 6 biases we've mentioned earlier and the ways you can incorporate some of these into your marketing. So you can incorporate, for example, setting sales deadlines that, okay, sale ends on Friday and that's it, or showcasing positive reviews, or offering discounts, or, for example, mentioning that, for example, there's low availability of the product. Then close the gap between trigger and purchase, so your existing and potential customers spend less time looking at or being exposed to the competitors' brands. And also build flexible and empowered teams that are able to work cross-functionally to avoid traditional branding and performance silos that are likely to leave gaps in the messy middle. So in the next section, we're going to look at the ways which you can utilize online tools to aid your online marketing initiatives. But before we do, let's take a look at the questions you might have. And I see that nothing yet. So let's move to the next section. And let's take a look at how you can utilize the online marketing tools to become more efficient. And one of the key tools for online marketers is Google Search. And as you can see here on the slide, the Google Search is present in every stage of purchasing journey. And as we can see here, we have the trigger phrase where 80% of the customers, use Google Search to find the ideas and the inspiration for the potential gifts. Then we can see also that 77% of the users use it to narrow down the options. Then 79% of the users use it to find information that can be trusted. It can be also even reviews or any comparisons. And then 79% use it to find the deal, the best deal, so they can purchase the final product. And these findings are based on the implicit association test to 7,000 consumers across 7 retail categories. However, Google Search isn't the only tool. So now let's take a look at a few more. And here you can see four the most important, let's say, and the four basic marketing tools from Google. So one of the first ones is Google Ads. And if you're not getting the organic traffic you'd like, you may want to consider using Google Ads and create a paid campaign. And you may target keywords and phrases to increase your visibility and drive traffic to your website. And make sure you also take into consideration advanced targeting options for specific locations, devices such as mobile, desktop, and tablet, and other criteria to address the audience you want. And now there's a question how to find the relevant keywords to target. There's one tool in the Google Ads interface. It's called Keywords Planner. It's one of my favorites. And it enables you to identify the phrases which are being searched for in your particular category, and you can use those to target your campaigns. Then we have another tool. It's the Google Analytics. And analytics is one of the most powerful tools for a marketeer and can help you to identify the following, such as the demographics, the social engagement, what do people do on your website, what is the top content on your website, what are the traffic sources. So it's a very crucial tool also to find out the insights and then act based on them. Then there's an interesting tool called Google Alerts. So when you enter a search query into the Google Alerts, you'll get a sample of the results and you would receive. So for example, I would, for example, type in handbags, and then I would get a sample of the Google results, which would be shown if I was searching for the handbags. So, and then you can have these sent to your email, or to the RSS feed. And you can keep up with your industry topics this way, and you can see where things are getting mentioned or building profiles, and you can get alerts for that. And then we have Google Trends. That's also one of my favorite tools. It's pretty useful. It enables you to identify the popular search queries around the world or around certain areas. And you can easily search for the trending words, and you can easily identify what's currently trading, what are the rising trends, and how you can, for example, adjust the campaigns based on that. And it's pretty useful tool. So you can, for example, set up that you want to see the top trends in Ireland in a certain category, and then you can identify what's currently trending in your particular industry. Now, let's take a few minutes to explore the different customers you're likely to encounter during the Christmas shopping period and the tools you can use to connect them. And now I can see that I have a question from Catherine over here, and she's asking, how important are influencers for your brand? So if I understand correctly, you would like to know if the influencers or the cooperation with them is important for building the brand. It's an interesting question. If you would like to, for example, it depends on your product as well. But if you would like to incorporate them into your media mix, you can, I think that it could be also quite useful. You don't necessarily have to cooperate with the influencers, but for example, if you see some of those in the industry or on the market, which are quite big in your particular industry, and you would think that it's interesting to cooperate with them, then it's one of the ways how to, for example, promote your brand. So I hope that I answered your question. And now we can continue with our presentation, and we can take a look at the different customers you're likely to encounter during the Black Friday shopping period. So we have the first group, and it's the early birds. And as we can see here, 11% of shoppers plan their Christmas shopping months before the holiday shopping season begins. It's very interesting that like 11% of the people in Ireland actually don't wait until the Black Friday or the Christmas shopping season, but they actually start way sooner. So it's important to use or utilize some of these tools I've mentioned before. So for example, Google Trends to find out what's currently trending, what the people are searching for, and whether they're already searching for, let's say, Christmas ideas or present ideas. And also Google Analytics to find out what they're searching on your website, what kind of sites are checking there and what they're looking for, and to discover, what's the current need and how to make it easier them to find it. So if you, for example, see that the people are increasingly searching for the gift ideas or inspiration, then it's another way. For example, I would recommend like including, let's say, gift ideas or inspiration on your website and start acting on that. Then there's a second section of the customers, it's the forward planner. So we can see that up to 38% of shopping has already been completed before the Black Friday. And in addition, 83% of Christmas shoppers also start thinking about their planned purchases 2 weeks or more before actually buying. So the people actually think about like what to buy or where to buy it and potentially when. So I would recommend you to start your campaigns early. Don't wait until the Black Friday week, but really start weeks ahead. And I would also recommend you using the Google audiences, which are preset right in the Google Ads. And there's one or two or three particular audiences I could recommend. These are based on the intent, and they're called either holiday shoppers, Black Friday shoppers, and Christmas shoppers. And I would recommend you using these audiences because these are the people who are currently searching for the gifts. So this would be one of the useful tips. Then we have the Black Friday buyer. So we can see that 8% of Christmas shoppers report doing their shopping on Black Friday. So as I've mentioned before, it's important to start your campaign early, plan ahead, also plan your stock units and what kind of deals you're going to offer. So you're fully prepared for the Black Friday week and also the Cyber Monday. And as I've mentioned before, it's useful to use the Google audiences based on intent to attract the early shoppers. And also it's quite useful to use the remarketing, which means reconnection with those users who were on your website previously but haven't completed their purchase. So now it's the right time to reconnect with them. And then we have the last minute dashers. Unfortunately, I am part of this particular group, unfortunately. And these last minute dashers, we can see that there's 50% of people who aim to do their shopping done as quickly as possible. And they usually shop for their holidays, like maybe a day before the Christmas Eve, which is usually my case, fortunately. So it's important to make the shopping easy for them so they can easily find out the information about the product, they can easily check out. And it's also quite useful to mention the estimated delivery, because as they're shopping closer to the Christmas period, it's important that their gifts will actually arrive on time. So this is another useful thing to consider. And also, it's good to give them options to check in store inventory online as well. And then my favorite group of all, it's the treat yourselves. So we can see that 87% of people search for Christmas related shopping after the Christmas week. And there's a huge number of people. So as the sales kick in, people increasingly buy for themselves as well as they continue to buy for their loved ones. So here I would recommend you to continue your campaign after the Boxing Day and beyond. with creatives that encourages shoppers to get them a little something to inform them, hey, we have this sales offer, so please check out our website and see what's there. And people still will be online, so it's useful to also capture this additional demand. And aside from Google searches and tools, so how else can we reconnect with the consumers? So we've just looked at some of the great tools you can use, such as Google Ads, Google Analytics, Google Trends, and so on. And I would also like to spend a couple of minutes on YouTube. And here is another question for you. You can answer in the chat. So how do you think that YouTube can help your business to reach the customers? Or how would you use YouTube, for example, to reach the additional customers? And as you're answering, I will continue with the slides about the YouTube. So YouTube is a great platform to help your business to achieve its goals. And there are a number of benefits, including increasing your reach, because every day people watch over billions of hours of video and generate billions of views. And 90% of people say they find new brands on YouTube. And I can also see it on myself when I was searching for the handbag. I found many YouTubers actually doing unboxings and presenting their outfits and their handbags. And I actually discovered new brands also through that. YouTube can also help you to drive sales. And as you reach more audiences and gain greater exposure, your business will in turn drive traffic to your website and increase sales. You can also engage with your customers, and YouTube enables you to create interactive media-rich content, which truly engages and includes your audience. And here I have one example from one of the clients I was managing. It was a client from Slovakia, and they were selling socks. So it's something like Happy Socks, but in Slovakia. And they created this video with dancing hamsters wearing their socks. And it sounds very random, right? To have dancing hamsters wearing socks. And then there was this specific song and this specific melody. And actually, it had huge success within their audience. So the people were sharing it, the people were commenting on it, they were liking it. The audiences were also creating their own versions of the song, creating remixes and 10 hours versions and so on. So this was, for example, one of the ways how you can connect with the customers. And sometimes even, let's say, simple or maybe a little bit random idea might actually cause that people will be sharing it and they will be liking it a lot. And with that, you can also develop the brand loyalty. And YouTube is a great place for gaining followers and fans. And now let's take a look how we can potentially measure the YouTube campaign. So if you decide to, for example, start a YouTube campaign, the paid campaign, there are several ways how you can measure its success. We have the basic YouTube engagement metrics. So we have the watch time, we have views, likes, shares, and comments. And these metrics provide a basic indicator on how an audience responds to the video. However, the effectiveness of an ad campaign is also evaluated by how it affects brand metrics more widely. And this is a study, the brand lift is a study which measures a direct impact on consumers' perception of your brand and their behavior. And within a matter of days, it's usually around 7 days, brand lift gives you insights into how your ads are impacting the metrics that matter. So for example, brand awareness, you can find out that if your target customers are more aware of your brand after watching the ad, or for example, if the people recall watching your ad, or if they are intending to purchase your product after seeing your ad, or for example, if they are searching more for your brand after seeing the ad. So if there's increased search of your brand on YouTube or in Google search after the brand campaign. And now let's take a look at a case study on how YouTube can be utilized to aid brand performance. And there is a case study from Littlewoods Island. Emma will share the video in the chat for you if you're interested to take a look at the video and take a look more deeply into the case study. So they found out that clothing and footwear were the most popular. And they wanted to increase also sales. They wanted to increase their holiday presence. And they used YouTube to target customers and approach them throughout the funnel. And then they created seasonal ads and also adjusted their website to showcase these purchasing options. And this video was a huge success, or this whole campaign. They had 5.7 million views, and also 37% of the users watched the video until the end. And they also achieved 12% growth in margin. So it was an interesting case study. So feel free to take a look at the links which are shared in the chat box. And now, in the next section, we're going to look at the ways in which you can optimize your online marketing campaigns. But before we do, let's take a look if you have any questions. And I can see no questions at this point. So let's continue to the next section. So, and now let's take a look at how to optimize your online marketing campaigns to become more efficient. So we just looked at some tools for boosting your online marketing campaigns. And in this section, we're going to spend some time focusing on the ways in which you can optimize your marketing strategy. And we'll focus on the three main aspects. So we have optimizing your sites and the user experience. Then we have automating the ads and then delivering the local ads. But first up, let's take a look at how we can optimize our website. So in the terms of user experience, as we can see, one of the most important aspects is the mobile speed. And as we can see here on the slide, we see that 65% of the consumers will switch from a poorly performing website to another one in order to speed up the transactions. So we can see that the customers are becoming more and more impatient, and they really want the things to be happening now. And in order to make the first good impression, as well as to capture those moments of impulse, retailers need to ensure that they have performant mobile site. And ahead of the peak, especially, we recommend using an audit tool, which is called Page Speed Insights, to check the health of your site and identify the key improvements. And Emma will share the link for the Page Speed Insights tool. It's very useful. You can see like how your page is performing in terms of speed and what else could be improved. So I would recommend you to check that out. And one of the most and reliable ways to achieve a performance site is the accelerated mobile page, or so-called AMP. And at Google, we are strong supporters of the AMP project, which is an open source initiative aiming to make the web better for all. And this project enables the creation of the website and ads that are consistently fast, beautiful, and high performing across devices and distribution platforms. And as you can see here on the slide, 53% of mobile visits leave a page that takes longer than 3 seconds to load. And AMP pages typically load under 1 second from Google search. So it's about 85% faster than a standard mobile page. So this is the mobile speed, or the speed of the website in general. And now let's take a look at the user experience, because it's also important to pay attention to that. And at Google, we believe that you can measure your site's user experience following the 3 metrics. So we have the largest contentful paint, which measures perceived load speed and identifies the point when the page's main content has likely loaded. Then we have the first input delay, which measures responsiveness and summarizes the experience users have been trying to initially interact with the page. And then we have cumulative layout shift, which measures visual stability and quantifies the amount of unexpected layout shift of a page content that is visible on the screen. And there are a number of factors we need to take into consideration of our UX and in general on our website, and especially before the holiday season. And up next, let's take a look at the automation. So one of the long-term challenges for businesses has been how to understand the commercial impact of its marketing investment. So if I, for example, do these type of activities, will it help me to achieve this type of revenue or profit? And in order to understand the relationship between the marketing spend and the commercial impact, most businesses turn to econometric studies, which, whilst useful, take a retrospective look at how marketing investment work. So for example, it means that for a long time, marketeers have had to invest marketing budget upfront and find out months or even years later whether the investment achieved the desired results. It means that you don't have the clear visibility in real time of the impact of different channels beyond the last click attribution. And one of the brilliant things about search or in digital in general is the ability to track as you go the commercial impact of your spend. And it means that you don't only have to rely on forecasting, but you can use the real time data to evolve the strategy and the investments as you go. And using the combination of automated bidding across the Google properties and Google machine learning, Google can help you to deliver profitable results by setting bids in real time and leveraging the touch points that are delivering most to our businesses. So with that in mind, let's take a look at the Google Smart Creatives and also the Google Smart Bidding. So let's start with the smart biddings, or so-called the Smart Creatives family of tools. And the smart creatives are pretty useful. They allow you to take advantage of intent-based signals across platforms to show the right message to the right audiences in search and display as well. And these are great tools to automate your marketing efforts and communication with the users. So first up, we have the responsive search ads, or so-called RSAs. And with that, you will upload the headlines and descriptions of your ads, and then the system will automatically combine them to create a relevant ad based on the user search. Then we have the dynamic search ads, or so-called DSAs. And these type of ads automatically create the ad based on the content of your website, and it can help fill in the gaps of your keyword-based campaigns or cover additional search terms you haven't been covering before. And then thirdly, lastly, we have the responsive display ads, or so-called RDAs. And here it works similarly as the RSAs, the responsive search ads. So you simply upload your assets, so images, headlines, logos, descriptions, and then Google Ads will automatically generate ads to show on the Google Display Network. So it's worth noting that the smart creatives leverage rich user intent-based signals. So intent-based signals, it means that the user is currently looking to buy a certain product or service. And these signals are happening in the real time and allow you to show the right ad to the right ad at the right time to the right audience. And also it takes into the consideration the bids you set and also the target audience you set in your campaigns. And these smart creatives will help you to work faster. So all you need to do is to provide these building blocks of these ads. So for example, the headlines, the logos, the images, and the system will automatically combine them. It also helps you to work smarter, so you can automate the routine tasks, so you have more time to do strategical things. And then it helps you to win more because these ads are highly relevant to the relevant users, so it can help you to boost the performance of your campaigns. And now let's take a look at the benefits of the smart bidding. So on the screen now, you'll see some of the benefits, and I would like to quickly explain what is smart bidding exactly. So smart bidding in Google Ads uses advanced machine learning at unmatched scale to optimize for conversions or conversion value in each and every auction which is taking place. So for example, let's say that you would like to get new leads and you will set up a goal that you want to get a new leads, let's say for 20 euro each. And then the system will optimize the campaign towards this particular goal you set in every single auction. And this feature is known as auction time bidding. And then using clues like ad creative, time, and user device, the machine learning can recognize the likelihood of conversion, a device based on that, and make incremental improvements over time. And smart bidding is great for advertisers who may be starting, but also it's quite useful for those who are managing large portfolios of campaigns or accounts. So it can really simplify the way how you're managing the campaigns. So we've covered smart creatives and smart bidding, and now let's take a look at audiences. So audiences are groups of people with specific interests, intents, and demographic information. I would like to state the difference between interest and intent. It might be a little bit confusing. So intent means that, for example, currently looking to buy a certain service or a certain product. So you're really intending to buy something. And interest means that you're just interested in some topic. So for example, in my case, I currently intend to buy a handbag. So this is the intent, and interest is, for example, okay, I'm interested in fashion, but I'm currently not looking to buy anything. So this is the main difference. So when adding an audience to a campaign or an ad group, you can select from a wide range of categories, such as fans of sport and travel, or people shopping for cars, or specific people who have visited your website or an app. And this means you can target groups by their interests, hobbies, demographics, and search history. Once we've identified these interests, needs, and the behaviors and goals of your audience, then you can define which audience will be suitable for a particular campaign or an ad group. And I would recommend audience insights in the Google Ads interface. It's a pretty useful tool for that. So you can see there, for example, what the people who were visiting your websites are interested in, or what are they intending to buy. So it's quite a useful tool to find out who your audience is, and then how you can adjust your campaigns based on that. And also you can create the audiences by yourself with keywords and URLs, or you can use the predefined audiences by Google Ads and then automate your marketing efforts. And in terms of audiences, as a starter, I would recommend you to implement remarketing lists into your search ads, um, which means that when people leave your site without buying anything, remarketing helps you to reconnect with these potential customers as they continue searching for what they need using Google Search. And moreover, it gives marketing another powerful signal that these users might be important for you, and that there's higher likelihood that they might come back to a website and finish the purchase. So it's another useful thing how you can use the audience lists, especially in search. And now on promoting your campaigns locally. So we have the local campaigns, which are designed to drive businesses to your shop door. And local campaigns streamline the process for you. So they're making it easier to promote your shops across Google's properties, including Google Search Networks, Google Maps, which are very useful, YouTube, and Google Display Network. And this is a specific format for a situation when a person searches for a product or a service nearby you, so they can easily find where you're located, and then they can go to your shop or office. And the aim is to maximize the shop visits and promote your locations across the Google search and across the properties and the networks. And that's enough for me now. So let's see if you have any questions for me to answer. So I see a question from Kimmy M. Thank you so much for the question. So for a first-time Google Ads user selling products online, what type of ads would you recommend? There's so many to choose from. A little broad, I know, but would appreciate any advice. So for the first-time Google Ads user, you're selling products online, what type of ads? Okay, so for the beginning, I would definitely start with Google Search, which means that you can run the ads, and when someone is searching for your product, they can find it on the top positions in the Google search. So I would start in this so people can find you when they're searching for your product. And with the Google search, I would start with the basic campaigns. So the first one, I would recommend a brand campaign. So a campaign which targets your brand. So you put your brand into the keywords. And then I would recommend a little bit more generic campaign, which promotes your products. So it can be anything. So you use your products as the keywords, and then you target the generic campaign this way. And what's very useful is these dynamic search ads, which I've mentioned before, because these dynamic search ads can actually help you to cover the additional search terms. So then you can see in the Google ads what the people are searching for, and what kind of ad is being shown for that particular search term. And then you can collect those search terms, and you can either target them or you can exclude them if they are not relevant. So the first bracket is search. And then I would recommend you display remarketing. So it's very important that when someone goes on your website, it happens quite a lot that people don't finish the purchase when they firstly go on a website, because the people are searching, they're exploring, as we've mentioned before. So it's important to use the remarketing. So I would recommend you the display campaign, which is targeting the website visitors. And you've mentioned that you're selling products. So you can, for example, add um, the feed of your products to the campaign. So for example, if the user was checking particular or specific products, you can actually then remind the person the products they were looking at, so the person or the user doesn't forget about you and comes back. So yeah, so I would recommend these two types of campaigns. I would recommend search. So the people can find you when they search for a specific product. And then I would recommend the display campaign or Google Display Network campaign, where you remind your products to the users. And then we have another question from Kimi. Also, to add to that, what's the most effective with a low budget starting off? Yes. So the most effective, as I said, is the search. So I would say is the main thing you can start with, and then you can optimize based on your goals. So for example, if you have limited budget, you can, for example, set up the strategy, which it's called maximize conversions, basically. And this strategy uses your whole daily budget to drive as many conversions as possible. So if you have limited budget, this is the best way how you can start. And then if, let's say, you're a little bit more advanced, I would also recommend you shopping ads. And maybe I would ask Emma also to share more details, like from the Google support, how to set it up. And it's also another way how you can drive the traffic on your website. And in general, search and shopping are more on the performance side. So if you have limited budget and you focus on the performance of the campaigns, then I would recommend mostly search and shopping, and then have this display campaign as the dynamic marketing on the site. So I hope that I answered your question. So do we have any more questions? If not, if not, then we're heading towards the end of the webinar. So we've covered the current market trends and complex sub-shopping journey. We also took a look at various Google online tools you can use. So as I've mentioned, the Google Alerts, Google Trends, then also Google Ads, and the Google Analytics. And also we covered the main optimization aspects. So the mobile speed, automation, and the local ads. So feel free to comment in the chat what are your next steps based on these webinars, so what are you most excited about testing or implementing, and what changes are you going to implement first. And with that, I would like to thank everyone for all your questions and also for your attention. We're going to wrap up this session now, as we're almost out of time. So I hope that that has been a useful deep dive into the ways how you can get your business ready for the shopping season. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this session, if you are interested in more trainings from Google Digital Garage, there are a few ways you can continue with the learning. So we are running many more Google Digital Garage webinars on different subjects. And if you would like to check out the schedule of the webinars, please see the information on this in the description box below. And there will be different topics available to watch, and we will be updating the schedule regularly. Also, if you would like to share your experience on social media to tell your friends and family about these webinars, please do so, and don't forget to use the hashtag Digital Garage. And plus, if you would like to carry on learning in your own time and in your own pace, please check out the Google Digital Garage website for more online training courses, which are available to you 24/7. And finally, if you have any feedback from today's session, feel free to share it. And there's also a link in the description box below. And after completing the feedback form, you will receive the PDF of today's content. And also we'll keep this webinar live for you for 24 hours so you can rewatch it. So again, thanks so much everyone for joining today. And we look forward to welcoming you again to another Google Digital Garage training session soon.